You're very welcome back. Now, setting our sights on the future and sticking to our personal goals can be a daunting task right now, with the pandemic dictating our lives and indeed our calendars. Perhaps you started out this year with some goals and have lost the motivation to see them through with everything that's going on.
Now, life coach Mark Fennell joins us this morning with some advice on how to get motivated in resetting those goals. Good morning, Mark. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good morning, Simon. Good morning, Anna. Very well, thank you. And thanks for having me on as always.
Not at all. A pleasure. A pleasure. We'll get into some sort of specific tips that you might have in terms of us, getting back on track in terms of our goals. But just in general, Mark, you can sense the mood of the nation that, last September we were fed up with it. So we're now at the end of January, we're really fed up with it. So,
exactly.
That is a great excuse to say, look, it's very hard to get motivated, but it's the truth. It's very, very hard to see the woods for the trees at the minute, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, look, if I said to you this day last year, your kitchen table is going to become your office, it's going to become the school, your back garden will be the PE hall, your business will be closed, you'll be out of work, not visiting families, no holidays, you know yourself. If we saw that last year and then we were told there's going to be a pandemic globally, we'd find it mentally very hard to cope with. In fact, we'd say that's a nightmare, that would never happen. And when we started out in this February, March last year, we didn't know what was coming. However, what I've seen over the last year, just from working with people and so forth, look, this has not been easy for anyone. We're all in this together, but we've all got very much different situations. And what I'll say is I've got a few tips that I know will help, because regarding setting goals and moving forward, here's what we can do to get our frame of mind in a slightly better place so that our, should we say, overall wellness, we feel that little bit better about ourselves and we can start to do things. Because if you're homeschooling, juggling businesses or businesses closed right now, January's not the best of month anyway. It's just made things really difficult. We can do lockdown once. We've done it twice, but now we're on the third time. We're all becoming to the end of our tether, so to speak. So there are a few tips I can share. I know that one of the first ones I say to clients all the time is it's called non-negotiables, right? Now, if you've got goals or aspirations for this year, brilliant. But non-negotiables are the things that you can do each and every day that make you feel a little bit better. Now, it could be simple like a coffee in the morning, going for a run after work, or getting 20 minutes yourself, or a bath on a Saturday night, whatever it might be. Non-negotiables are the things, I'm going to call them like a pick-me-up that's good for you, but it's also good for your mental health. And these things, I say, make them non-negotiable. Drinking enough water even, so that each and every day you do them. And the reason I say that, because there's a lot of uncontrollables. But I always say, to deal with what you cannot control, focus on what you can control, and get in the good habits of the things that have a good feedback and, should I say, a good reaction for ourselves mentally. Because sometimes for some people, a mum who's trying to manage 3 kids and school them all day, she says, when I get me cup of coffee first thing in the morning, I'm kind of set for the day. So we all have our non-negotiables.
That's very true, Mark. Start the day the right way is your number one point. And I suppose, you've just said it's those things that we do on a regular basis that make us, I suppose, the day ahead feel more manageable if we do have that moment to breathe, maybe over our morning coffee before everyone wakes up in the morning.
Exactly, even if it means getting up 15 minutes early. But basically, how you start the day is key to getting your frame of mind, your mindset, as it were, set in a happier place, so that when the stress does come, you're in a better frame of mind to deal with it. One of the other tips I'd always share is this, and I say this to people all the time: good times don't last, and either do bad times. And I will say what I learned from a prisoner of war. I heard him speak a number of years ago, and he was a prisoner of war, and he said, I didn't know when my release date would come. And I know lockdown, it's a bit like that. When will this end? When will the pandemic ever end? And he said, the way I dealt with that was a day at a time, a week at a time. And I never put an end date, because I only set myself up for disappointment. And I know a lot of people said, New Year's coming, it's going to be better. It'll be a new year. We'll put 2020 behind us. And then we're thrown back into lockdown 3. And we're, shall I say, at the end of our tether. So here's what I say. It's a day at a time. It's a week at a time. You can only do your best. I seen a quote the other day, right? And it says, thrive, don't survive. We're trying to survive at the minute. Forget thriving.
Yeah, that's the thing. As you say, it's taken one day at a time. But unfortunately, some of us feel at the moment that a day feels like a week at the moment, particularly, as you say, if you're at home and you're trying to do 2, 3, 4 hours of homeschooling with one or more kids, while you're also trying to work, and you need to get out and get a few bits in to do the lunches and the dinners. like, you know, taking one day at a time is great, and it is great advice, but how do we motivate ourselves to get through the next hour, 2 hours, next morning, next afternoon?
Simon, listen, you are speaking for a nation right now, because that's how we're all feeling. A day does feel like an infinity. Here's my tip. I call it the 1% rule, right? And it's a simple, practical thing, but the simple things sometimes work the best. It's basically looking at each day going, right, how can I make today just 1% better? You know, for me and mine, what can I do that makes it 1% better? What little change? When we start to, there's two things that happen. We might come up with something that's going to help, but secondly, it gets our frame of mind in a place of, let's focus on moving towards better rather than just staying where we're stuck. What can I do? If, for example, someone says, I don't feel motivated, well, what can we do to get us motivated? What can we get to do to make us move? Momentum creates motivation. What could I do each and every day that might be 1% better, but make that day that little bit easier? It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be overnight, but just focus on being 1% better. Don't try and be the ultimate, you know, conquer Everest. Even Everest is conquered one step at a time. So I always believe the 1% rule is a good way of looking at it. I would also say this as well when it comes to perspective. And this is a thing that I remember hearing someone said before, you know, it could always be better, but it could always be worse, you know. And I think on that note, we've got to sometimes find, we talk about gratitude an awful lot, and it's hard to think gratitude when you're stuck in the middle of homework with 3 children and they're all on different years, you know, it can be challenging. But I always say, well, try and how you start your day and end your day is what you can control, and you've got that little bit of peace. And I would say this, look, my grandmother always said this to me as a great bit of advice. She said, look, as long as you're vertical, you've got something going for you that some don't have. And I think it's so true. As horrible, as brutal as this is, and homeschooling is an absolute nightmare, because we're all expected to be teachers now. And we were put in this situation not by choice, and we weren't given a rule book. We weren't given, here's what you do to survive your week. We're figuring this out. We're in the deep end. It's just about doing your best, you know, and if you can't do all the hours of a school day, you do the hours that work for you. You find a pace and a structure for you and yours, and it's about you doing your best. And forget what the Joneses are doing and what Instagram says people are living their best life. You focus on you and yours. Do your best. And remember, listen, there's people fighting for their life today, and thank God and please God that's never you. And focus on those things and say, you know what, it's bad, but it could always be worse.
I think you're being very realistic, Mark. I think the be 1% better is a great point if we take one thing away from our chat today, because the lack of structure, the constant comparison, you always feel, you know, there's mums groups, parent groups for schools, and I often feel like, oh my God, I haven't done as much as the other mums or parents on that group today. And you're constantly comparing. And I think we need to stop doing that as well and kind of give ourselves a bit of a break, don't we, Mark?
And listen, it's the thing I always tell clients that I work with, because a lot of people right now lost motivation, lost fulfillment, even lost a sense of purpose and questioning all sorts of things. But here's what I say. I have this little thing I say to people. It's all about failing forward, right? And what I mean by that is, you may have got it wrong today. Maybe you feel like you failed, but you know what? You're one step closer to being better tomorrow. So, you know, it's all about moving forward. We're going to get it wrong. We're going to fail. Forget what everyone else is doing. If you can end your day going, we did our best, we made mistakes, but tomorrow's a new day.
Exactly.
Onwards and upwards.
And as you say, Mark, look, we're all in it together. We'll get through it together. Listen, really appreciate the chat, Mark. You stay safe and well.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it as always.
So true, isn't it? Just need to remind ourselves of all of that when you're
One day
losing
at a
your
time.
you know what. Right, and to find out more about Mark Fennell's life coaching sessions or online courses, you can find all of the details over on the Ireland AM Facebook page. Now, still to come, Eat Your Heart Out, Rita Ora and Joel Dommett will be introducing our masked secret stars.
And Angela Scanlon will talk to us about how she's flying the flag for Ireland on UK TV. See you in a minute.